Hey everybody, grumpy old man here in a Dodge Charger back once again. So, I kind of was thinking that up until now, my videos are pretty much whatever's on my mind at the time, and I've mentioned, a couple of things about driving. Don't drive distracted, don't use the asshole lane if you don't know how to, don't use the fast lane if you don't know how to, that kind of thing. Don't ride a bike in the city unless you want to live in China. So it kind of got me thinking that maybe I should kind of, cross over into a couple of discussions about cars themselves. So I'm going to do a couple of videos that are related specifically to cars and vehicles. And this first one, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one now about modifications not to do to your car. Next video, I'll talk about stuff to do to your car for performance enhancements, appearance enhancements, whatever. But this one, we're going to talk about stuff, don't do it. First thing not to do is don't go out and just get what we call a fart can. The big coffee can that you put on the back of your exhaust that just makes it sound awful. It's just, you're not fooling anybody. It doesn't sound better. It doesn't sound faster. It's just an annoying sound. I mean, if your goal is to have everybody that you pass go, God, what an annoying sound, then congratulations, you have found your way to do that. But if you're trying to sound cool, don't go with the giant fart can blaster on the back of your tailpipe. It's just very lame. Hand in hand with the people that tend to use the fart cans are body kits. Now, when done nicely, a decent body kit can really accentuate the natural lines of a car. But if it's overdone, it just looks really bad, especially ones that don't fit your vehicle. Something that kind of comes to mind also are fender flares. If you don't need them, then don't use them. Fender flares just really add an ick factor to a car. I mean, on trucks, when you've got the giant knobby tires, yeah, I mean, I've seen some flares on trucks, Jeeps, stuff like that. They really go nicely. The new Dodge Demon has them because the tires are just so damn big that they're required. But if you don't need fender flares on your little hatchback, then don't put fender flares on your little hatchback because they don't belong and just look foolish. And they never really look right, because it's never that, Buddy went and took it to a body shop and had them professionally installed. It's something he did on an afternoon in his garage or, out in the driveway with a couple of buddies and a couple of cans of spray paint and, is borrowing his dad's toolkit kind of thing, or his mom's toolkit, whichever. But it always just looks very homemade. It's very crappy. So if you're going to do a body kit, just make sure it's one that goes with your vehicle. And if you're going to do a fender flare kit, make sure it's because you've got giant tires. And the other thing is, I don't know what it is lately with these, especially the import cars, I see them a lot on, is you've got so much bend. Is that toe or camber? Toe, camber. I think that's camber. So you've got so much camber that your wheels are like rolling along the side like this. It looks really weird. It looks really silly. I mean, it might look cool to you. I'm an old man. To me, it looks ridiculous. And one more thing that I want to mention are, since we're talking usually about the imports, most imports have the front wheel drive system. Us classic Mopar guys, my Charger, Challengers, the Mustangs and Camaros and all those kind of things are all rear wheel drive. I prefer rear wheel drive. It's just a preference because I'm old. But the new generation of car enthusiasts, they tend to go for the front wheel drive, which is, something about just, doing a burnout with your front wheels going. It's just weird. But anyway, so yeah, if you're a front wheel drive car, you don't need a giant spoiler on the back. You might think it looks cool. It doesn't. you don't know taste yet. Wait till you get older and you actually develop taste. But here's the problem. The purpose of a rear wing spoiler is downforce. If you have a rear-wheel drive car and you're driving fast, you get a little bit of air underneath the car, and then you get the air going over the car, okay? Wind shear, wind resistance. And the back end tends to go up a little bit, especially if you're a rear-wheel drive car. Rear-wheel drive cars, back end goes up a little bit because you get that wind coming up from underneath the vehicle. So the purpose of a rear spoiler is that the wind going over your car comes over your roof, goes down the back windshield, hits your trunk. Once it hits that spoiler, it causes downforce, so it actually pushes the rear wheels onto the pavement, giving you better traction. But it does the opposite effect in a front-wheel drive car. If you're driving a front-wheel drive car and you have a giant heavy spoiler on the back, what you're actually doing is you're putting more weight on the back, which lifts the front. Now, I can't imagine how ridiculous it would look to put a giant spoiler on your hood to get downforce for the front of the car. That's what chin spoilers are for. Chin spoiler catches the air, it's like an air dam, gives you a little bit of downforce on the front end. But yeah, like you're basically just defeating the purpose of having a spoiler. My Charger has a spoiler, it's called a Go Wing. My Go Wing actually causes downforce on my back wheels. It will actually lift the front end of a front wheel drive because it's actually adding weight to the back. So defeats the purpose. Don't do it. It's unnecessary and it doesn't look cool, especially those giant, what we used to call whale tail spoilers. They used to come on Porsches back in probably about the 80s or so, and all the import tuner guys thought that, oh, they looked really cool, we should start using those. And no, they're awful. They're just so wrong in so many ways. The other thing too, and this is more about performance than appearance, but a lot of the people nowadays are using performance chips. They don't do anything. A tune will improve performance, but a chip does nothing. And you can get them anywhere from $30 to like $300. And yeah, they're crap. They don't work. They don't add any performance whatsoever. The same thing with these electronic fans that people put in by the throttle body. And the idea is that it's supposed to work the same way as like a turbo or as a supercharger, and it just spins really, really fast electronically, and then it just jams more air in. The problem is, combustion doesn't work just on air and fuel alone. You actually have to have it's got to combine. And if the air is just being thrown in willy-nilly, all you're doing is just adding extra air. So you're actually getting a higher air to fuel ratio, which doesn't improve performance in any way. If anything, you might run a little bit lean. Those don't work. They've been tested. They've been studied. They're a complete waste of money. Don't do them. And lastly, decals, plastic hubcap. You know what? Basically, here's the thing. If you're in Walmart or Pep Boys or Canadian Tire and you're walking down the aisle that is just floor to ceiling with metal cutout decals and all that kind of, just avoid that stuff, okay? Fake intakes, that's another one. Oh my God. If you like, even, and you know what, I'll admit it, Charger guys sometimes do it too. The SRT8 hood has an inlet that actually brings cooler air from the hood and pushes it to the engine for cooling purposes. Why it isn't a direct injection inlet of cooler air into the cold air intake, I don't know, but that's just how Dodge designed it. So you get these guys with non-SRT cars that go out and get like a fake hood scoop, the ones that you used to find on like a 1983 Foxbox Mustang. It serves no purpose. It looks fake as hell. I mean, it's just as bad as like the fender scoops. People get those fender scoops from like Canadian Tire, Pep Boys, whatever, and it's usually either one big one or three little ones in a row kind of thing. again, you're not fooling anybody. Aesthetically, they really don't look all that nice. Performance enhancements, well, obviously not. You're not going to add 10 horsepower by putting a bunch of plastic stick-on vents on your fender. I mean, the vents that were in the 71 CUDA fenders, they didn't actually have a purpose. They looked cool as hell, but that was from the factory, and that was by design. You know, like Subaru hoods, most of those have the big, you know, air inlet scoops on their hoods by design from the factory. They're required. So just my point is, don't be putting fake hood scoops or fender intakes, anything like that. Just, it looks fake as shit. Real car guys just laugh our asses off at that stuff, because we know real car guys would never do that to their vehicle. It is such a big faux pas in the automotive world. You know, just don't. I mean, there's a lot of cars that are nicely done up. I mean, I rag on the imports. I admit there's some really nice ones out there if they're done properly. I'm not big on the ones that are just completely splashed in all the stickers from the, you know, Type R and NOS and all that kind of crap. And you're just, you know, your whole fender's just covered in all these stickers kind of thing and trying to look decent. Doesn't really impress too many people. Now that said, my last word on this, I'm bitching about this. I'm an old man. I'm a grumpy old man at that. I drive a Dodge Charger. For many, many, many years, I drove a 72 Challenger with a 440 setup in it. Extremely fast, tubbed, cage, the whole bit. It was basically just a race car that was street legal. That was my choice. At the end of the day, this is just suggestions. I can't tell you what to do. Nobody else can tell you what to do. You do you. All right? So you're listening to me and you're thinking, this old fart doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Oh, I know what I'm talking about. I've been a car enthusiast for probably longer than most of my viewers have been alive. But that said, I can't tell you what to do. You know, it's your car. Do what you want with it. I mean, that's basically the motto when it comes to cars. It's yours. Do what you want. Other people can bitch and complain. My last thing too, this is something that really sticks in the craw of a lot of people. Up badging. Okay. Up badging would be if I'm driving, say, a Challenger RT and I put SRT badging, or even worse, Hellcat badging on it, or if you're driving an SXT V6 and you put Hellcat decals and badging on your car, anybody within that community, like that's the biggest faux pas. I mean, it's the type, you know, putting a Type R decal on a non-Type R vehicle. It's like, that's the kind of mentality that we're looking at. So, you know, you're not impressing anybody, you're not fooling anybody. If that's how you want to do it for you, okay, then you know what? Go ahead. You do you. But if you're trying to do it to impress other people, no. The bullshit decals and up badging and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't fool anybody. It just makes you look silly. So basically, I'm protecting you from yourself. Anyway, the one thing about a Dodge Charger, it'll pass pretty much anything but a gas station. So I gotta go fill up at, what is this now, $1.50? $1.46 a liter for my fuel. So I gotta go drop some hard-earned cash, be excellent to each other, stay off my lawn.